Hello, everybody. My name is Lisa Lamont, and I am your hostess of Ladies Get Your Prance On. And each week I bring a special guest into the house that's going to share tips and tools and techniques to help you grow your business and to support women all around the world. And I have a very, very special guest. All my guests are special guests, aren't they? But she is no exception. Her name is Cat Williford, and she is going to be talking about her retreats. She is, a lot of people go by the term life coach and business coach, and it takes no qualifications in order to hang your business sign and say that's what you do. But the thing that separates Kat from everybody else that I've met over the last 7-8 years is that she was a life coach before there was even that term life coach. She is a true, real deal. So welcome, Kat.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I love being here. I love your show. I love everything you're about. It's my honor to be here and be of service today.
Well, the reason why I wanted to ask you on the show is because this summer you had this incredible retreat, and I wanted you to come on and talk about the mask that women wear. And you had this retreat, and I know 5 or 6 of the women that attended the retreat, and they were just blown away. Like their experience, and they were like going, she better have another one, and Lisa, when she has one, you better come to it. So I would just like you to just kind of start off and talk about the mass and how that came to be.
Sure, would love to share. I think how I stumbled upon the idea that we wear these masks really is I had a really, really dark night of the soul. And when I say dark night of the soul, I mean on the floor. So actually it was nights of the dark soul. I was on the floor crying, sobbing every night for about a week because my life had just stopped working. And I grabbed my journal and I started writing when I realized I couldn't continue on the way I was, which was trying to control everything around me as everything fell apart. So can anyone relate? You ever had things?
Hello.
Right?
Yes.
So I grabbed my journal and I wrote kind of a Dear Universe. I said, Dear Universe. Actually, I think I said, Dear Madam of the Universe. I said, I resign. I resign as the Chief Operating Officer of Control, because that's what I felt like I had taken on in my life. And it was so not working for me. And that's when I realized we all, every single one of us, at a certain point in our life, take on a mask to wear that gets us through something. And in the beginning, it's really smart because it helps us survive to get through a really hard time. But when it becomes the habit, it cripples us. It halts us in our tracks, and we are no longer effective. We are no longer our joyful selves. And we become, a little bit like the Grinch, quite frankly. And I was tired of being the Grinch in my life.
Yeah.
So that's really how it all came about. And then having been trained all those years in coaching and human relationships and mythology and archetypes, I understood all of a sudden, like it was a lightning bolt. Wow. Everything that I've learned up to this date has come into play right here. I so see it. I see this archetypal set of masks that we take on at various times, as I said, to get us through something, because we're smart. Our psyche is smart. It wants us to survive. The problem becomes when we just forget we can take it off. And so that's really where I shifted the course of my work about 9 years ago, to bring this in with my one-on-one work with women executives, women entrepreneurs, women in the spiritual worlds. And I come from a background of theater too. So the masks, when you think about the Greek theater, they literally stepped on stage with masks on because, men played female roles. So they were wearing these elaborate masks and costumes to portray things. And that's what we do. We wear these masks as a costume to portray something we may not be feeling. Yeah. So there are underlying reasons and motivations that we keep the masks on, not only habit, but the underlying drivers that they're trying to feed us with. I'm going to stop talking and just let that land.
Well, and it hit me because, like you said, the Greek theater, the men would wear masks of women and play that role. And it just hit me that aha, because the masks that we wear also judge other people by our perception of what we think they are. Is that
Yes,
true too? Is that
that
true
is
too?
so true. You know, I think half the time relationship issues, like communication issues in relationships, happen because we're projecting a mask onto somebody and not seeing their authenticity. Now, they're probably wearing a mask,
Mm-hmm.
but we oftentimes are projecting onto other people masks, and those come from the comparisons that we're constantly doing. You know, and I see women do this to each other all the time.
Yeah.
And it breaks my freaking heart. I have spent, since 1994, my mission has been to widen the circle of sisterhood. You know, I mean, I've been leading full moon rituals and solstice and equinox rituals since 1994 to bring women together, to be vulnerable with each other, to learn to trust, to communicate honestly and without the masks. So getting to bring this into a wider lens outside of a spiritual circle into corporate work with, you know, when I work with corporate women, when I work with my entrepreneurs who are, you know, rocking it with 6 figures, headed to 7 figures. And honestly, I love working with women who are starting out in business because it's like you get to support them to not put on all those masks.
Yeah.
That we learn to put on by watching others.
Yes. And you actually give them a jump start when somebody is new starting out. You give them a jump start because you're going to be able to teach them about the mask that for themselves. The other thing that's really big going on in social media right now too is that we're comparing ourselves to others by numbers, you know, because now that since Facebook Live has come out, I know so many of my clients and friends and networking that they're all about these numbers, and they don't understand that Facebook Live, when they think, oh, that person, they got 2,000 reach, you know, they're famous and what they are, versus they'll do a really good, you know, like my interviews and my shows, I get between 100 and 500 views on YouTube, but yet I'll see on LinkedIn I have over 300 views just there. So the numbers are really false. The numbers are masked. Can you address that too? Because that's a big stickler right now with women entrepreneurs.
Boy, are you onto something with this, Lisa. I so get it. And I've done whatever I can to not play the number game, honestly. Like, I don't even want to know how many people are on my list,
Yeah.
you know, the email list. I don't even want to know. You know, the person who handles that for me, she knows. I don't need to know, because those numbers are triggering our masks.
Yes.
The comparison is triggering our masks. And you know, there's a set of masks that really are all about respect. Respect is the driving need. And what I see in those numbers is the respect piece, but I also see that driving need for love. It feels like love when we can get those numbers. And so it makes us do some pretty crazy things if we're plugged in that way. And I want to actually address what you just said around women entrepreneurs and that comparison, and how it can allow us to feel so badly about ourselves if we don't have those same numbers.
Yes.
And how do I want to say this? Here's how I want to say it. Stop playing a goddamn man's game. Seriously, stop playing the man's game.
Thank you.
I mean, it's just, women, we don't need to play that game. It's not about how big it is. It's just not.
It's true. Thank you.
It's just not. It is not our authentic sweet spot to play the numbers game.
Well,
it's just not.
I wanted to add to Brene Brown, when I saw an interview recently on YouTube, she was talking that she has never gone back and watched either of her TEDx talks, which are, you know, one of that first talk is like the number 5 of all viewed. She said she's never gone back because that's all ego based. She said if I go back, I'm going to be critical. I'm going to look at what people say. I'm going to look at the numbers, and that's going to affect me. And so I thought I would throw that out there for you could add on to that.
you know what? I think it's brilliant. And so doing stage, like I was a theater actress, I didn't read reviews because boy, can those get in your head. And the saboteurs can run like crazy with them. So I understand what she's saying. I totally understand what she's saying. I wish I had more strength in that. I do. I will watch this show. You know, we've done the recording.
Yes.
I will watch it. I admit it. I will watch it.
Yes.
And I'm already sort of kicking myself that I said GD a minute ago. So like, I want to just be clear with that, but I get so passionate in, I don't like putting a governor on myself. So if I offended anybody, I'm really sorry, but here's the deal. We have to be willing to put it out there.
Yes.
So I will go back and watch, and mostly because I want to learn. So if you're going to rewatch yourself, do it to learn, not to make yourself wrong. You know, one of my tips out there in social media, when I'm posting on social media, is, you know, replace the question, what did I do wrong, with what can I learn here?
Beautiful. And I want to jump in because you and I both know Jen Duchenne.
Yes.
And she has been pounding the drum of tell your truth, tell your truth, tell your truth, sister. And so I want to just say, when you apologize for swearing and saying language, Jen would absolutely say, own it, sister. And and we as women, we want to be perfect and we want to be right. And I even shared with you at the beginning of the show, there's no topic that's off limits. And so I just want to say to you, when you watch us back, saying, I love you, Cat, and you didn't say anything wrong. You said what we needed to hear. And we don't have to apologize for telling our truth. And I know Jen Duchenne's probably going to watch us, and she's going to be going, yay, Lisa. But it is so true. We have to stop apologizing for our feelings and how we feel. And another thing too that I asked you before the show is if you wouldn't mind sharing an incident that you had that was very traumatic. Because when people look and they see this happy, energetic, bubbly, but you're all of those things, but they don't know and it's not a mask, but they don't understand the trauma that your body continues to go through as a past event. Would you mind sharing that?
Not at all. I'm happy to share that. I'm going to actually share two pieces to that. But before I do, I really want to jump on what you just said. I totally agree. It is about telling the truth. And I think for me, I've actually put, I'm a big swearer. I love fuck. I love that word. So love that word. So it actually startled me when goddamn came out of my mouth. It startled me because that's not one of my go-tos. So that is how passionately I feel about women must play our game. We must play to our strengths, which is about inclusivity and honoring and receiving rather than chasing down, and I think that hunt for numbers is about chasing down.
Yes.
So that's how passionately I feel. So I'm not apologizing one iota about the passion or what I said. So let me just go to what you just asked me about. Because honestly, when I did my timeline story, which is what I have clients do, and in the retreat, we did our timeline story about how did the mask really get to be where it is today.
Yeah.
And I was a senior in high school, and I was in a horrific car accident. And let's be clear, not just a car accident. The car I was in hit a train, a freight train. It was already going across. We weren't trying to beat it. We weren't that level of crazy. We were that level of intoxicated on a very dark road at midnight on a rainy night in January. And the boy driving the car didn't see it. I saw it when we were about 5 feet away and screamed, "Train!" And that's the last thing I remember for a really long time. I was a mess, as you might imagine. My head went through the windshield. Thank goodness it was this part of my head and not this part of my head. So my neck is a big fat mess. I broke my femur. There's still there's a pin in it. I broke my right knee. I broke my foot. So everything on the right leg. And it was a long journey to come back from that. And my goal, because this happened in January, my goal was to walk across the graduation stage unassisted to receive my diploma. I made it. I did it. I was determined. And what that set up, other than like lifelong dealing with what's wrong with my neck, we'll say, and I don't like to use the word wrong, but I've had to accept the fact that my neck is a bit of a mess, much better than it used to be. So I wake up with a lot of pain, and I'm in a lot of pain, in and out during the day from that. The leg is fine. And what I saw from that incident was a great need to control. I had not been in any sort of control in that car. I was not driving. To this day, it is very uncomfortable for me to let other people drive, especially if I don't know how they drive, if I've not driven with them before. I feel the anxiety rush. And I have learned to redevelop trust to be a passenger in the car. And like even right now talking about it, I'm getting anxious.
Yeah.
And what I know is I have a bevy of tools in my toolbox now. Like right now, I'm just like practicing. It's like the calming of the breath. Just inhale gently and exhale it. And come to the present moment. It's very difficult for masks to stay on when we are truly in the present moment. The masks keep us into the future about worry, trying to avoid reliving the past so that we miss the moment. And that chief operating officer of control was really cemented 7 years and change after the car accident, when I donated a kidney to my father, and he died anyway 6 months later. And I spent a 2-year spiral down after that, to where I wasn't quite certain I deserve to breathe oxygen. Like I so took on this mantle of failure, even though the kidney transplant had been successful. It was a lot of other stuff we could do a separate show on that because it's a soap opera. Like you can't even believe the chain of events. But boy, did that cement my chief operating officer of control. And because as I spiraled down, I didn't care about my body. I didn't care about myself. I was into massive amounts of self-abuse through alcohol, starving myself, and in general, being really pretty miserable and not sleeping. I didn't sleep a lot. And I wound up very, very, very sick with systemic candida, which is yeast overgrowth in your gut. So you're starving because the yeast is eating any nutrition coming into you. And it's funny that I'm going to say this, but I'm so grateful that I was on my knees so sick, because it forced me to look at the truth that I actually really wanted to live, and I really wanted to make a contribution. And about a year after that is when I discovered coaching. And I saw then, as I started to learn, like I hired a coach before anybody knew what a coach was. And I asked him, I said, I want to do this for people. Can I learn from you? And he said, well, as a matter of fact, my partner and I are thinking about starting to, train some people in this because we're finding it to be really effective in supporting people. I was all in. Like that whole idea of being an actress, I didn't even care anymore because that was, I didn't have any control. Directors have control, right?
True.
But this was an opportunity to support people, to make that difference that I have always wanted to make in people's lives. So I guess what I would say is, if you have a sneaky suspicion you have a mask, and there's a whole bunch of masks in my system. It's not just the Chief Operating Officer of Control. She just happens to be the one that is my go-to.
Yeah.
You can learn how to remove them, and you can learn how to honestly engage with vulnerability and strength. Like, I believe vulnerability is our greatest strength. Mm-hmm. If we are willing to stand there full on with emotion and love in our heart and trust our resilience, we can do anything. And that's what taking off the masks does for us. So I wanted to show you what my Chief Operating Officer of Control mask looks like. So at the retreat, we made our masks. I'm a big believer in creativity. So here she is. And she wears the kind of black stuff underneath here because she's all about putting the game face on. Football players and baseball players black out under here to support the lights not hitting them too harshly in their eyes. And she's got black lips. She's like really terse. She's very serious. And this kind of bright pinkish thing with these represent the migraines that she helps create in my life. And these are the stabbing pains of the migraines. So each one of the masks creates something in our bodies. My Chief Operating Officer of Control has contributed to migraine headaches and cluster headaches. And interestingly enough, when I started peeling away her layers and getting really in touch with who she was and the different triggers that are out there for me, my migraines have diminished. The frequency, the duration, and often how bad the pain is. So this work is transformative on so many levels, Lisa. It goes to the heart of what we can do for ourselves when we're willing to really look and be honest and take these things off so that we're free again, so that we can be here and doing what we're meant to be doing. I mean, I look at what you're doing, Lisa, the gift that you are to so many people, your psychic gifts, your willingness to be there with people and love them when it's hard, and your incredible savvy with things and the community you've built. I mean, you are living such a beautiful example for all of us about what we can do when we're willing to be a support to other people. I thank you so much for that. I mean, I benefit greatly from knowing you.
Yeah, I just, I didn't want this to reverse on me. So I'm not prepared for that. And once again, that's my mask of not being visible and bringing up, the psychic term, owning who we are. And I've struggled with coming out with my gifts. I've struggled with coming out with the gift of discernment and insight and prophecy and psychic and intuitive and like all these words, which one am I, and I'm actually all of them, depending upon where a person's spiritual beliefs are at. And so it's hard to put one title on ourselves, as you were talking about. I have all these different masks. Like, do I show up as Christian prophecy, Lisa, when I'm working with my clients? Do I work with, psychic, spiritual, and the deal is I do wear different hats in my business and conform to them. I wanted to ask you about your retreat when you had all these women there. Was there one common thread that showed up from the women that they all had in common? Or was everyone completely different for a variety of reasons?
I'm going to say yes to both. I think the common theme was for all of us, and I would say this is, having worked with women primarily my whole coaching career, I'd say this is true in a big general sense.
Yeah.
Stepping in to know that we matter, to know that what we're here to do matters. Like when I say that, I'm talking about that gift, that thing, the life purpose, the path we are meant to walk. Because what tends to happen is we wear the masks. Some of the masks we can adopt are the overgiver to other people. Good God, I have worn that one. My ex, I built his business more than I built mine. The overgiver is huge in so many of us. And it comes from a genuine, beautiful place inside of women to support, to nourish, yes, to embolden, to nurture. And what we want to make sure we're doing is doing that with and for ourselves at least as much as we're doing it for other people.
Yes.
So I think that was a through line. We all had to step into those, I need to nourish myself, not just my tribe, not just my family, not just, my business, but I need to nourish myself.
Yes.
So that I can continue to do my life's work, whether it's in the creative realm, whether it's in the supporting professions, whether it's, thought leader, whether it's, business guru, whether it's to be, I've got a friend who, went to law school in her 40s because she said, dadgummit, I'm sick of bad legal advice. I know I can do it better. So she is, So if that's your thing, go do it. Make that difference. And so that's something that was common. And I think the distinctions I saw for everybody was the different mask that was the lead mask.
Yes.
And that has very much to do with when we do our timeline and we look back at what are some of those, original pieces that create the story of the mask. And the one before the train wreck for me, I'll just be honest, when I was 8, I just turned 8 years old, my father almost died. And we watched it happen. And then, she was whisked to the hospital and I didn't see my parents again for a month because he had to go to a special hospital because he was in renal failure and his blood pressure had been so high. So at that point, the control set in for me. Like, if I can just control, if I can just be perfect, everything will be okay. And during that time when they were gone, a neighbor molested me and basically said, if I told, my parents would not come home. So I took on this mantle of needing to control my feelings, needing to control everything around me so that my parents would come home. Now, what a vicious, horrible man he was to have done that to a child.
Yes.
But so we can, just those innocent things that happen, like we're innocent, as kids.
Yes.
When we're innocent and things like that happen to us, it sets up the different masks that we wear. And so I share that because I want women to start to peek into their past and see, wow, what did that really set up? The overgiver, the overdoer, the overachiever, the brainiac, all sorts of things get set up in us.
Yeah.
It's deep work and it is life transforming.
It is. And people sometimes say I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to that place. But until we can go back there and do the work of forgiveness, which is towards ourselves usually,
always.
I was raped in high school and it was by a stranger. It was a new girl, came to school and she had a party at her old school it traumatized me so much that that the actual act of it, the memory's gone. And I don't need to go back and recall that memory, and that's not why I'm bringing up the topic, but it affected who I was from that point. Yes. Because I said, I'm going to control myself. And then after that, I became promiscuous, because I was dirty and filthy. So I may as well be that. And I'm going to be in control, and I'm going to get the guy before any guy takes advantage of me. I'm going to do it first. And I didn't learn that for years, that was a reason for my behavior. And so other people go, boy, that Lisa, she sure is a slut. I was doing what I could do to protect myself at the time. That's right. I grew up in an alcoholic family. I grew up with physical abuse and verbal abuse. Mm-hmm. I spent hours, I can't tell you how many hours I spent in my hall closet in a sleeping bag with a flashlight and a book, reading a book so my brothers and sisters wouldn't find me and hurt me when my parents were. I mean, it's traumatic. And the reason why I'm sharing it now and today is because we all have something in our past, probably not as traumatic as what you and I've been through, but it's trauma nonetheless. If one yes. teacher made a rude comment saying, you are so stupid. I had your sister in my class and she got A's. What's wrong with you? You're getting C's.
I had that. Yeah, that was my brother. My brother was the brainiac.
Yes. And so, but that one comment, we've replayed it over in our mind a million times that we're not good enough, even though that teacher probably doesn't even realize what they said. But it's important to be able to go back in order to understand from an adult point of view and rescue our inner child if that's what needs to be done, and protect them. And I had no idea the show was going to go this way, Kat. But you know what? It was supposed to. It was Absolutely. Supposed to go this way, because there's a lot of women that are hiding in shame. And
yes.
So I want to segue back to the mass. So you work with women one-on-one.
Well, before we do that, I want to just say something about what you said, because it's
yes.
so important.
Yes.
And first of all, my God, I didn't know some of that. I love you so much, Lisa. I love you. What's so important about what you said is we don't go back to relive and stay stuck in it. We actually go back so that we can become free of it.
Yes.
And yes, not everybody's going to have a physical abuse trauma or a sexual assault trauma or, verbal abuse trauma. But I've yet to meet someone who has not had a major point of pain in their life. Whether it is a loss of someone significant that they loved, whether, like you said, it's someone with an offhand remark that, makes them feel stupid. There is something in every one of us that has us, these are the things that bring up the masks and the flavors of the masks. And we look there, not to stay stuck, but we look there in order to free ourselves and move forward from today.
Yes.
And I want to say also, as a coach, I am very clear that I am not a therapist. And a lot of times, because people feel safe with me, particularly women, will get in there and this kind of trauma comes up and they share it. And we decide together, what support do they need going forward? It might be me. It might be a therapist. It might be a psychotherapist. It might be a psychiatrist. It might be some other kind of support group. But we decide together what form of support would really benefit at that moment. So I want to just say that, because coaching has its very powerful place in our lives, as do other forms of support. So at no time should a coach ever get into the waters and pretend like they're a therapist. Ever. And
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I have been through a lot of therapy, through years of therapy. And that's beautiful that you brought that up there. And it's not a coincidence that, people feel safe and they do open up, and, and myself as a working with people with, helping them going forward with their future, their past comes up, being a psychic, per se. But I also know that when I tell them, you need more than just me, I will continue to work with you, but not in that capacity. I am not qualified to help you move past that. So we work hand in hand as a hypnotherapist. Yes. If somebody wants to work on weight loss through hypnosis, I make sure that their doctor's on board with working with me. Like it's really important to know that we don't wear all the hats, right? We talk about mass, and we're not a doctor, we're not a therapist, we're not those things, but that doesn't mean that we don't want to help people move forward. And so you can still help coach people, but they might need additional help too, because we can't coach people or help people unless they're willing to move forward. I mean, because I think everyone at some point should be sitting on a therapist couch, to help.
Yes.
I cannot tell you how powerful it has been for me to do that. So thank you for addressing that.
Yeah. And, like you, I can work in partnership with someone's therapist or counselor or psychiatrist, or not, maybe not even in partnership, but in combination with, to support them continuing to look at what they wanted to look at with me to begin with, that brought forward all of this well of other things that also need to be handled or looked at in a different way than the coach looks at it. And I just think it's important for all of us to know our lane. And what that also means to me is, it's like somebody might say, oh, well, my lane feels narrow and, I can do all of this. And yes, but what that does is it allows our true genius to come out. It doesn't dilute the genius of what we do if we're not trying to be in everybody else's lanes. It enhances our genius.
And if people are working with you for coaching for their business, that doesn't mean you're going to design their website. That doesn't mean you're going to design their logos and do all their graphic work.
No, they don't want me doing that.
No, but you're bringing up a good point that we do need to stay in our lane, because there reaches a point. There's a lot of people that are out there that are claiming they can do all of that. So thank you for addressing that and bringing, because that's really important. Really important.
Well, and see, my chief operating officer of Control Mask likes me to think that I should be able to design my own website. Thinks that I should be able to, make sure every blog gets posted and every comment is in the right place. And she likes me to think that only I can do certain things. Oh, boy, is she tiresome.
You know what brings to light is when people write books, and their name, like I wrote a book, Boot Camp for the Soul. My name's on there. But in all reality, it was my copywriter that wrote my book. She took my mess of notes and my pages of thoughts, and she's the one that wrote the book. A lot of people out there, even these famous authors that keep cranking out these books, they didn't write those dang books. Their name is on it, their ideas on it, but there's the other people that are writing the books.
That's right. They're the ones who are helping craft and hone it into something readable.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that. I want you to also talk about this Thursday program that you have. Can you talk about that too?
Sure. So earlier this year, I started a series. I just thought, I do these circles for the full moon in person and sometimes virtually. I thought, why not expand this out and do it at the noon hour, where more people might be able to come and play. So I started a Facebook group called the Sisterhood Circle Advantage. And that's really what the Authenticity Advantage is, the name of, my work here. And so I started a Thursday noontime circle. It's the third Thursday of the month. And I was just going to do it this year kind of for a lark. I thought it would be fun. Well, it's fun. It's rich. It's deep. At first I thought I'd record them, but I've stopped because I want women to feel completely free to say whatever they want to say and not worry about someone they don't know seeing it or hearing what they have to say. So I'm all about the safety. I'm all about the safety and the safe, courageous space. So I decided to start them up again in the new year. So I've got one next Thursday, the final one of this year, and it's all about how to avoid the holiday hullabaloo and
Ooh.
enjoy the holidays instead of make yourself crazy. But then in January, we'll kick back up and we'll go the third Thursday of the month, and there will be a different topic we'll take on to focus the conversation. But I got to tell you, the shares from women in the sisterhood are amazing. I always give, tips about how to remove this mask or the other mask, and check with others, like how you feel about this mask. What do you do when you're wearing it? How do you know it shows up? So that we're all in the conversation together. And I think that's my goal for everything. It's like, let's be in the conversation together, ladies, because when we are so much stronger when we're in a circle, when we are in a sisterhood. That's my passion.
Yes. And I love, and I've participated, and what I love too is that they can be live and be seen, or if they're not ready to do that, they can just call in and they can participate that way. So I love, and I also love that you're not recording and replaying that, because I just had an incident happen where this Me Too came out and all these people were going, me too, me too, me too. So I wanted to do a live session, a Zoom session, so people could participate and share their stories of Me Too.
Yeah.
And after I was done with it, because some people said, well, send the replay and do that. And there was so much personal stuff there. And some people showed their face that I really felt in my heart. And I was going to even do the audio, and something said there was so much personal shared that I thought, no, I cannot share this recording. It was too personal. And so I chose not to. People go, well, where's the recording? And I'm like, well, you should have been there. Next time show up. Yeah.
And to me, that is it, because I love watching YouTube videos. I love webinars. I love all that stuff, podcasts, etc. But there is a giant hunger for connection, like community and in person and live,
Yes.
So I think I want to record less and have it, and like make it be really special that people are here together at the same time. That feels really important right now, as we're so attached to every, device around.
Yeah.
It just feels really important that we interact together in one space, and it doesn't have to be recorded. Not everything needs to be put on social media.
Well, you just kind of answered my question, because that was one of the things that I was thinking of going forward in the new year, was to do my Zooms like with you live, and let the people come on and support, ask you questions, ask my guest questions. And I've done a couple of test shows. I did one with Jen Duchenne, and then I did one with Rhonda Shapley, who was the only survivor of Ted Bundy being attacked by him many years ago in Utah. And I chose to do that one live, and she had a lot of support. And I think you've kind of answered that. I'm going to really try to do that. I think women are wanting to connect on that deeper level, and being able to have a voice and see it and say, me too, or I support you, or I can't believe that's happened. So I think you kind of answered that too. So tell me of any events that you have coming up before we wind down. How can people find you? Do you work one-on-one? I'm going to let you just have the floor now.
Thank you, Lisa. Yes, I do work one-on-one. I love working one-on-one, and I'm a deep diver, so we dive deep pretty quickly. But I find that is really a powerful way for women to transform, is going that one-on-one. I love leading groups. I love leading the retreats. I will be doing another retreat. It'll be next September 2018. I'm looking at doing a cruise in the late spring, like late April into May timeframe, before summer gets crazy. It would go out of Los Angeles. And also up on for me in 2018, I want to be traveling a little bit more to come to other people's backyards, because not everybody can get to Southern California. I get it. Yeah. But come on, it's really pretty. I live at the beach.
Yeah, there you go. Yes.
And the other thing I do when I work one-on-one, I do offer VIP days. So as long, I offer kind of regular coaching packages, if you will, 6 months at a time. But I also offer VIP days where you come and you blitz it out with me for a weekend. And that has been very effective for a lot of people, because you leave your normal circumstances, which is why retreats are so powerful.
Yes.
Because you don't have to go cook dinner for anybody. The laundry isn't there to go wash. The bathroom will wait. And so people come out of their environment and we take things in differently. And I think we allow more of our authenticity when we leave our routine. It's like sometimes the mask of those routines can get left behind. So yeah.
And it's important too for women to know to invest in themselves. So to go and have a VIP day with you, and I've met you and I've known you now for 3 years, they're going to walk away with not only with their mask off, but they're going to have purpose and clarity. I mean, you are certified. You really do walk the talk of being a life and a business coach. You don't have this 6-figure cookie cutter program. I mean, you are very spiritual. You're very tuned into each specific woman. Like you take in the fact if someone's introvert, extrovert, where they've been in business for 1 year or 10 years. I mean, you're able to weave all of that into each client. And that's what I love about you.
Thank you. It's interesting. I just, I am part of the International Coach Federation, which is one of the professional associations where to join it, you actually have to have been trained as a coach and have a certification from one of their approved training companies. I train for 2 of those companies. Like I train other people to be coaches. And I think those of us who are truly willing to go and do the training we're the ones who are willing to keep looking at ourselves. Yeah. And I don't do big internet launch splashy deals. And believe me, I sit here and kick my ass about it. I'm like, why aren't you doing this? These people who have coached for 5 minutes are doing this. And I go, yeah. And I know what it takes for them to do those launches. But I also, that's not who I am. So I would be inauthentic if I did that. I'm just going to share this because this was a Sunday morning after the retreat. We were all at breakfast and I got down there a little bit later than most people. And the group shared with me, we can't tell you how surprised and really excited we were that you never tried to upsell us during this retreat. You didn't pitch once. And I said, oh my God, no. Who does that? You either get who I am and what I'm about and you see that I could support you, or I'm not the person for you. You paid to be here. I'm not going to up-level you or pitch you on something else. So I think that's something that actually disturbs me about the industry right now. All this over-pitching and, upselling and up-leveling and all that. Well, up-leveling, that's fine. But upselling is just work with people, do a good job, and they're going to refer you.
Exactly. It's like, why do you have to upsell? If you're that good, they're going to want more of you. They're going to want to work with more of you. How can people find you? I'm going to attach everything to the show, your sisterhood group and everything, but what's the easiest way? And also for the people watching, how they can contact you to maybe come and speak at a workshop in their city.
That's great.
Because you just said you will travel, so I
will travel, absolutely. You put a group together, I will be there. So of women wanting to take off masks or, stop suffering, I'm there. So one of the best ways to reach me is my website. Very easy, catwilliford.com. And if you go there, I'm going to show, at least I know you love my cards, my Authenticity Advantage cards. Yes. And I want to share, I drew one before we started this call today I was thinking, of everybody who would be watching. I have to put on my glasses to read this thing. And so today's focus is love. And we get to acknowledge today that the light of love is inside me. And I know many of us have spent a long time chasing it outside of us, hunting it down. And today, just acknowledge that light of love that you have been seeking is already inside of you. And so I invite you just to like take that in. Just take a breath here and just maybe even close your eyes. The light of love is inside of me. And then the action around this is to proclaim, I will share my light of love 3 times today with other people. So I encourage you to go out and share your love with 3 people today. And, bonus points if it's people you don't know. Yep. Share the light of love with people you don't know. So I mention these because you can download your own set off of my website. If you go to catwilliford.com, look on the right-hand side there, scroll down a little bit, and or on the other pages, you can actually download your own set of affirmation cards. They're simple, but boy, do they work. There's 8 of them. You can print them out at home on your own computer.
I love it. And, and that ties in with Prancing Kittens and the mirror love.
Yes.
It's about doing those affirmations out loud in front of the mirror, because it does start with yourself. If you can't love that beautiful woman looking back at you that was created divinely and perfectly, if you're looking at, being critical, that's the mirror fear. That's the fear mirror. No, it's the mirror of love, which is your creator made you perfect and divine, and all the other media has tried to make you, dilute and fog that up. So your card was just perfect that you pulled for today.
It
Cat,
wasn't it?
It was, Cat. Thank you so much for coming on, and I would love to have you back first of the year, and
Anytime.
we'll go live, and we'll take the mask off together the first of the year and talk about what we can do going forward. So I thank you so much for taking time today.
Thank you. Mwah.
Thank you, everybody, and we will be back next week. Bye-bye.